He was a Rolls Royce of a defender.
You didn't know what to do against him, because if you wanted to fight him, he was strong enough. You wanted to outrun him, he was quick enough. You think, you know what, get crosses in, he was good in the air.
So yeah, I consider him also. Some people, they say John Terry. For me, Rio was the best of all time in the Premier League, at least from what I saw.
6 Premier League titles, 3 League Cups, obviously a Champions League as well for him. And for me, he is the best centre-half signing.
So, listen to this. If you're one of those people who think defending is just about throwing in last-ditch tackles and getting stuck in, I've got some bad news for you. It's time to lock your eyes on the screen and realize that Rio Ferdinand wasn't just a defender, he was a mind reader on the pitch. While other defenders were busy reacting, Rio already knew what was coming next. Strikers thought they had space? Gone. A through ball looked promising? Not anymore. He didn't need to fly into challenges because he was always in the perfect spot. And still, check any scouting report from his prime. And the first thing they mention? Not his strength, not even his speed. It's his football IQ. The guy was a defensive genius. They say footballers are judged by their medals. When the dust settles and the boots are hung up, what really matters? How many trophies sit on your shelf? How many moments can you show your kids and say, yeah, I did that? For some players, silverware is rare. Maybe one big win in an entire career. For others, it's just another season. And Rio Ferdinand, he was definitely in the second category. A serial winner, a defensive Rolls Royce, a player who dominated his era. He picked up 15 major trophies in his career, and 14 of them came at Manchester United. But here's the thing, before the bright lights of Old Trafford, before the captain's armband, before the Champions League glory, Rio was just a kid from Peckham, South London. Born in 1978, right around the time Margaret Thatcher took office, Rio grew up in a tough environment. Council estates, tight-knit communities, and a daily reality where football wasn't just a game, it was an escape. And even as a kid, you could see something different in him. A drive, a determination, not just to play, but to be the best. By the time he was 16, Rio had already turned heads at Chelsea, Charlton, and Millwall. But it was at West Ham where he found his football home. He joined their academy and within 2 years was knocking on the first team door. Then came May 6, 1996, a date most football fans remember as the day Manchester United won another Premier League title. But for Rio, it was the day everything changed. A 68-minute substitution. Just a few minutes on the pitch, that was all he got. But that was all he needed. The first step of the journey that would take him to the very top. That summer, things got even crazier. Terry Venables invited him and Frank Lampard to train with the England squad during Euro 96. Imagine that. You're barely out of your teens and suddenly you're sitting on the bench behind Alan Shearer and Gaza. Rio later called it a life-changing experience, and honestly, how could it not be? One day you're watching your idols on TV, the next you're sharing a dressing room with them. Before Rio, English defenders were often seen as tough tacklers and aerial dominators, but Rio brought something different to the table. He was elegant, composed, and had a knack for reading the game that set him apart, almost like he had a sixth sense. He'd anticipate where the ball was going, position himself perfectly, and snuff out danger before it even became a threat. And when he had the ball, smooth as silk. He'd glide out of defense, head up, picking out passes that would set up attacks. It was like having a playmaker in defense. Over the next couple of years, Rio forced his way into West Ham's starting lineup. By 1998, he had already played 35 Premier League games and was named the club's Young Player of the Year at just 19. But by the time the new millennium rolled around, a massive decision was waiting for him. Leeds United came calling. They wanted to break the bank, £18 million, the most expensive defender in history. For a 22-year-old, that's a life-changing move. New city, new expectations, new pressure. And let's be real, he didn't have the smoothest start. His first big game, a 3-1 loss to Leicester. And suddenly, everyone had questions. Is he worth it? Did Leeds make a mistake? But the great ones, they don't crumble. They rise. And Rio did exactly that. He became a key part of Leeds' incredible run to the Champions League semi-finals, even bagging a goal against Deportivo. The next season, he took the armband, captain at 23. But as we know, his time at Elland Road wouldn't last forever. As the 2002 World Cup wrapped up, the whispers about Rio Ferdinand's future started getting louder. Leeds United were in financial chaos and Manchester United smelled blood. Sir Alex Ferguson wanted Rio badly. So badly that the transfer became one of the biggest sagas of the summer. And Rio? He wasn't exactly sitting back and waiting. He admitted that he spent hours in the office of Leeds chairman Peter Ridsdale, pushing to get the move over the line. Then on July 22, 2002, it finally happened. Rio Ferdinand, the most expensive defender in football history, walked through the doors of Old Trafford. This was it, the big time, and right away it felt like the perfect fit. His first season ended with a Premier League title, sealed in dramatic fashion. United took care of business against Charlton, but they still needed Arsenal to slip up. Who came to the rescue? Rio's old Leeds teammates. Mark Viduka's late winner against the Gunners handed United the trophy, and just like that, Rio had his first major piece of silverware. But football moves fast. 1 minute you're on top of the world, the next it all comes crashing down. In September 2003, Rio missed a routine drugs test in Manchester United's training ground. He later passed the test, but the FA didn't care. They came down hard. 8-month ban. That was it. Season over. Euro 2004, gone. The ban hit like a hammer, and watching from the sidelines was torture. By the time he returned in September 2004, United had lost their Premier League crown to Arsenal's Invincibles and were now chasing Chelsea's rise under Mourinho. Despite Rio slotting straight back in, United finished the season trophyless. The hunger for more success burned stronger than ever. Then came the 2006-07 season. It had been 4 years since his last league title, but that drought ended when United reclaimed their place at the top, taking advantage of Arsenal slipping up against Chelsea. But if you ask any United fan or Rio himself what his best season was, they'll all give the same answer. 2007-2008. When Nemanja Vidic joined Manchester United in 2006, it was like pairing fine wine with a perfectly aged cheese. Vidic was the warrior throwing himself into challenges, while Rio was the artist, bringing composure and class. Together they formed a defensive wall that was nearly impenetrable. This dynamic duo was the backbone of a United side that dominated English football, clinching multiple Premier League titles and that unforgettable Champions League triumph in 2008. This was peak Manchester United. Ronaldo, Rooney, Tevez up front, Scholes, Carrick, Giggs in midfield, and at the back, the rock-solid partnership of Ferdinand and Vidic. It was a team built to dominate, and that's exactly what they did. The league title came down to the final day. United had to beat Wigan, and Chelsea had to drop points. No mistakes, no second chances, and United delivered. A 2-0 win. Champions of England again. But the real prize was still to come. The Champions League final, Moscow. A tense, rain-soaked night against Chelsea. It went all the way to penalties, and after John Terry's infamous slip, it was United's moment. As Gary Neville was injured, the honor of lifting the famous trophy fell to Rio. Imagine that. The kid from Peckham who grew up playing cage football on South London estates, now standing on top of Europe as Manchester United's captain. But football doesn't let you enjoy the highs for long. A knee injury ruled Rio out of the 2010 World Cup. He fought his way back and added another league title in 2011. His fifth. But the moment United fans will never forget, that 2011-2012 season. The Aguero goal. The Premier League title ripped away in the final seconds. It was a punch to the gut. United responded the only way they knew how, by coming back stronger. The next season they stormed the league, powered by Robin van Persie's goals. United won the title in April, and for Rio, it was his sixth and final Premier League crown. A perfect way to say goodbye to Sir Alex Ferguson, who retired at the end of the season. But the post-Fergie era, a disaster. David Moyes took over and United collapsed. After 12 years at Old Trafford, Rio left in 2014 to join QPR. But by then, football wasn't the biggest thing in his life anymore. In 2015, just a month after retiring, he lost his wife, Rebecca, to cancer. It was the toughest battle he had ever faced. And yet, just like in his career, Rio showed incredible strength. On the pitch, he was one of England's greatest ever defenders, a player who made defending look effortless. Off the pitch, he became an inspiration in ways far beyond football. Some players leave behind medals, others leave behind legacies. Rio Ferdinand, he left behind both. But here's the real question. Where does Rio rank among the greatest defenders of all time? Top 5? Top 10? Let me know what you think in the comments.